Hey everyone, this is Roman Prokopchuk, and this is the Digital Savage Experience podcast. Today I have with me John Molyneux. John is the sales samurai and has been studying martial arts and sales for many years. He is also the host of the Success Breeds Success show. Thank you for joining me today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Roman. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming on today. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get to where you are today?
Oh, wow. Well, I've just turned 40 recently. So I was kind of a teenager in the 90s. It was all about the partying and like regular teenagers, really. But I kind of started off as an electrician. I was training to be an electrician. But that never really worked out. Never got qualified. I was too busy partying and getting wrecked and stuff like that. So in my early 20s, I kind of got a bit fed up with being in and out of different work and not really going anywhere. So I decided to join the military. I was in the British Army for a couple of years, but I think I was either in the wrong regiment or never really got to passion for it as a career. I enjoyed some of it, and there was some sort of ups and downs, should we say, which like you have with a lot of military. But I decided after a couple of years that it wasn't a career path for me. So I actually left when I was 25, and then it was kind of a real roller coaster. I was in and out. Well, I kind of fell into the sort of jobs that most ex-military do, sort of security work. So I was like a door supervisor and working festivals and nightclub doors and stuff like that, pubs. But I also did truck driving as well because I had my HGV license, so I used to do a lot of truck driving as well. But those are kind of the monotonous, same old jobs that most military fall into. And I just kind of didn't really feel like I wanted to keep doing them kind of jobs. But I was passionate about martial arts. I figured that out quite soon after leaving the army, because you did parts of martial arts to do with the security work. So you'd learn restraints and things like that and different locks and stuff. And I always kind of got to like that type of stuff. So anyway, what I did actually do was decided that I wanted to be a karate instructor. This was probably at least 10 or 12 years ago. And I was passionate about learning the karate, and what it was is I was training to be an instructor, but part of that was I got the training was free. It was provided by the other instructors. So I got my gradings were free. The different belts I got were free. But for me to get that, I was out on the streets knocking the doors to sign up people for classes. So that's how the sales started. I served my time like 5 years door knocking. Now, if you know anybody that's done any door-to-door sales, like 6 months is kind of a hardened, seasoned door knocker. So if you've done it for 5 years, you're like I don't know, do you know what I mean? Like a complete sort of, not master, but you know, really done it for a long time. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction to sales, but I quickly found that I actually enjoy it. I like to build rapport with people. I like to speak to people. I'm a very people's person. So the fact that I did the martial arts and the sales at the same time, that's kind of how I came up with the Sales Samurai. Since then, I've done everything to do with sales. I've done cold calling on the telephones. I've done like high ticket, if you want to call it that. So like 4K packages, I close them for Amazon business. So yeah, I've had experience in all aspects of prospecting and rapport building, anything to do with sales, psychology. I've studied it all.
Yeah, and I think sales is one of those underrated things that people don't necessarily know how hard it actually is. Obviously, you have to hear no a lot, and the psychology behind it. You have to really understand what makes people tick. I mean, obviously, there's a correlation with marketing too. I mean, I'm in the digital marketing space, have been for 12 years, but really understand how people make decisions, how you can connect, how you can persuade somebody to, do the action that you're looking for them to do. I mean, in that case, a purchase or an inquiry.
100%. And like you just mentioned, marketing, they go hand in hand. I don't think sales or marketing is going to work without the other. I think they're kind of part and parcel of the same sort of thing, aren't they? You're not going to have a successful business if you don't have both of those working for you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, everybody, well, not everybody, but, your start, you had a few different jobs, which led you to what you do now. And obviously you honed your craft. But I think those kind of jobs back when you were younger and like you were in the military, I was actually going to be a Marine Corps officer, but I got a ulcer caused by a
Oh,
bacteria called H. pylori that almost kind of killed me. So I couldn't really do the pre-shit PFT, the physical fitness, to go to Quantico, Virginia to do the actual training, because every 5 seconds to when I was doing the 3 mile run, I would stop and cough up blood, and I didn't know what was really wrong.
ooh,
So, I never really went back to that. But in retrospect, if I went to that basic training, I probably would have died.
mm.
But everybody kind of has a journey, I think. And all of that makes, all the previous jobs that were just jobs at the time, maybe also, like you said, security, things of that nature. And you take something from it and then you apply all of those experiences, and they mold you for, hopefully in people's cases, what they're passionate about or what they're doing now.
Absolutely, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because before I actually went in the military, I think I did a little bit of door knocking, but I probably lasted about 2 days, because it was that sort of military mentality where you just not bothered, you just keep going at things. There's no way I would have had that sort of drive and passion to keep plugging away and keep moving forward that I got from the military. So even though it wasn't a career path for me, I definitely took some qualities.
Yeah, and I think life experiences and parts of your life prepare you for other things. So different hardships and things you live through, you have to accept no, I think, in sales a lot. And if you're younger, sometimes you're a little fragile, don't have a thick skin, haven't experienced life yet, and that may affect you to or dissuade you from doing that. But I mean, within digital marketing, within the podcast space, doing interviews, I mean, you're going to get no left and right. And at this point, it's just like, okay, next. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
not a good fit. Let me focus my energy where collaborations and business alignments make sense.
100%. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Roman. Like you say, you have to kind of get a thick skin to some degree. I mean, like you say, it's nothing's for everybody, and it's nothing personal as well. You've got to get it out of your head that if somebody's listening that are sort of just getting into sales, you can't take anything personally, because it's not an attack on you just because they don't want that product or that service at that particular time. It might be something that they want, but they're not going to be able to do it for 6 months, or it might just be a complete not fit for them.
Yeah, and with other things, in sales and other roles, it's even asking, because people are afraid to even ask or go in that route, because they already have in their mind the fear of getting a no. So I
Mm.
think people are dissuaded by that no, which no is a learning experience, and that no can open up bigger and kind of greater doors that will eventually lead to a yes.
Yeah, again, like you say, it's the kind of the way you look at that no. Once you get used to it, and you look at the psychology, it's like, well, why is it no? So you kind of push that bit more. What is it about it that you're rejecting? Is it not a good fit? Is it not the right time? Is it too expensive? Is it do you know what I mean? Is it lacking something? There's so many reasons why they're giving you that no, but a new salesperson or somebody that's never just takes that no for a given, and you give up.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's kind of also running your own race. So if you get a no, eventually that no may also become a yes, or,
Mm.
somebody doesn't see that, drive or grit or potential within you. That, doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're any less of an expert, or, don't know what you're talking about, or don't have value. It just, not everybody sees kind of the worth of an individual, or that potential situation at that moment or that given time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to know how to deal with people as well, without, you don't want to be pushy. So if they say no, you don't keep pushing and pushing. Or if they don't make a buying decision on the day, it's very sort of glamorous, isn't it, to get this what they call the one call close. So you've had one sales call with somebody, boom, they go for it. That's not going to happen very often. It does happen, but that's somebody that's decisive, and they're ready, and they want to buy. They know they want to make that decision. They probably wanted it already. Most people you speak to are going to have to think about it. And when they say, I want to take 24 hours, or I need to speak to my partner, or I need a couple of days to decide on this, it's a big, especially if like you're selling something that's got a quite high ticket on it. So like 4, 5, 10K, they're not going to make that decision on the spot. They do genuinely need time. So don't be pushy. And when you're following up, don't don't sort of stalk either. If you say you're going to follow up with them like next week, leave it a week or 2 weeks, wait that 2 weeks. Don't be leaving it a couple of days and then back onto them. So, because that's kind of like stalking, isn't it? So you got to be clever and savvy about how you do it and not be desperate. That's one thing a salesperson's downfall, or even a coach's downfall, or an entrepreneur's downfall, or a business owner's downfall is don't ever be hungry for that sale or that client or that customer.
Yeah, I agree. And I think oftentimes soft skills are overlooked as well. So, emotional IQ, really
Yeah,
being able to read the person and understand maybe that person is dealing with something, that day. Really
yeah.
being empathetic to that situation can go a long way because you can connect on a personal level, actually ask about that person or what they're
Mm.
going through. Maybe they'll open up with you. Maybe you can help them outside of that situation and then build a tighter bond and a lasting business relationship or even friendship.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely agree with that.
So, what motivates you to succeed?
I think again, it's kind of a drive that I kind of was instilled from the military. Again, I think I have this sort of just grit to keep persevering, and I it was just, that's why one of the reasons I got my black belt with the karate is that there were so many times when I thought I want to stop this, not because I wasn't enjoying the karate, because it wasn't making me a living. I was doing it full time, and the idea was to make money from it by teaching the classes. But I was teaching 4 classes, and a lot of the time it wasn't even covering the costs of the hall hire and running my petrol, running my car. So it wasn't that the fact that I got to purple and brown belt and didn't want to do the karate anymore. It was not working financially, but I was so determined to not give up and get that black belt. I pushed through, and me and my partner we were really struggling financially at the time. But I thought I'm not going to throw the towel in because I am going to get that black belt, because I've gone from white belt to all these colours through to brown belt. To stop now would just be disastrous for me. I've got to get that black belt, and I got that black belt, and then I decided to walk away from it because it wasn't paying and it wasn't a career path. But I had to persevere through that rough time to get there.
Now, did you also do it? I mean, me personally, I mean, I work out, I do sports and stuff like that. And that's my kind of release. Was that kind of your, release or like, safe spot to like really deal with things? Because personally, if I'm dealing with something, if I get a really good workout, I can get my mind right and get to a really, calming place or an equilibrium. Was that kind of similar for you? Did that have that kind of effect?
Absolutely, but you know yourself, when you're ex-military, when I first left, it was kind of that lack of discipline that you don't get. So for me, the fact that I wanted to do the martial arts and grading karate was that discipline was back instilled into me again. So that was my driving force, was discipline. I do the gym now and I do other things and I still do my martial arts and stuff, but I don't think that's ever going to leave. And it's probably the same for you. Once you've got that sort of mentality and that lifestyle, it's difficult at the moment because the gyms are still closed here, unfortunately. But
Yeah, same thing here. I mean, I've started working out at home, so my mother-in-law had a bunch of equipment literally that she didn't use. So it's like this total gym thing with cables, so I can do a full body workout. I have
nice.
resistant bands, a bike, this squat thing. So it's like also really doing what you can with what you have. I mean, obviously, COVID has forced situations of people in terms of their livelihood. I mean, some businesses like food industry and things of that nature have physically been closed for 4 or 5 months. So it's figuring out
Mm.
how you can reinvent and reevaluate or revolutionize your business to adapt to this scenario. Or if you were doing something, maybe you were furloughed, laid off, fired, if you have another skill set maybe you're passionate about, or finding something else. Because like in the digital space I'm in, I mean, all you really need is an internet connection. You build that knowledge base, build credibility, have a client base where you can have examples of success, and you can really pivot. I mean, that's what happened to me in the 2008 recession. I graduated with a degree in criminal justice, couldn't find a job, and had to pivot. So I mean, it's a pivot moment for a lot of people. They just have to kind of realize it and take it.
Absolutely. Well, with me, I actually went back to do door knocking for a brief time just before COVID, just to sharpen my skills again. And I was doing the phone calls, but only part time. But what I did was obviously they stopped the door knocking. So once that stopped, I just went into full-time phones instead. So it is always good to sort of work on new skills and try and develop in different areas, just in case something freak happens what you weren't expecting, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's guaranteed with the global economy. The economy is connected globally at this point. So
Yeah.
if something hits like a pandemic, the whole world that is obviously affected. But also, like, you have to consider the advancements in technology. So a lot of things like, truck drivers, things of that nature may be replaced in 10, 20 years, but then you have to think about the jobs that are going to be created in that. So that technology
Yeah.
operator, that supervisor of that, pivoting into that and not seeing as this catastrophic event, because I mean, in any situation, that mindset is what makes the difference.
Yeah. Well, it's like that old military saying. I know we keep bringing it up now, don't we? Adapt, improvise, and overcome, don't you? That's what you do. You adapt, improvise, and overcome. When times changing and your circumstances are different, you just have to adapt, don't you? Move with the times.
Yeah, I mean, life isn't the way that I don't think anyone has expected it to play out in any situation. I mean, you may have had a goal, but then it gets, sidelined. I mean, I've had a
Yeah.
lot of personal losses and things in my personal life, different things that affected me emotionally in that sense, and I could have gave up in those times, or you utilize that and see I have to do something about it and harness that kind of pain and at times negative energy into something positive.
Absolutely. Definitely.
So what's one thing that you may have had or seen as a weakness in yourself in the past that you've turned around and utilized as a strength today?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, it was probably creating content. I know that probably sounds a bit, but like listening to my own voice and recording myself, because it's actually been brought to my attention a few times particularly by friends that I have back home, because I've got a strong Northern English accent. They're like, how can like people in America understand you? And I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. They quite like it. They quite like the accent and everything. So that was one thing, but I think it's kind of self-limiting beliefs, isn't it? Because I always thought, oh, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't think I'll be able to talk or record myself. But I started doing videos to start with on LinkedIn. It was so I first started recording myself, and when I was happy with a few of them, I started posting them, and then I just got more comfortable with it. So then when it came to me starting my podcast, I was already comfortable with recording video, audio. It was just a progressive thing. So I'd say that was the one that for me the most was not liking the sound of my own voice or not wanting to record myself and overcoming that.
Yeah, and oftentimes something like that will hinder you from telling the story you have. And that story may be super impactful, but you're super self-conscious about something like an
Yeah.
accent, anything of that sense that you don't necessarily obviously control. So don't be limited and, in a box and think that maybe you're not good enough or don't sound as professional or what have you. I mean, you have to do what you have to do. And I mean, I listen to myself. Well, I had an accent when I came to the US, but I was 5. So I mean, I don't think I have an accent at this point, but it's one of those things where it's like also refining. So I like to listen to myself trying to, because it's subconscious, but everybody has stop words or
Mm,
gaps in terms of when they start like searching for a thought. So
yeah.
basically refining that and become a better person, a better communicator. And it's obviously a ongoing process. I mean, it's what I have 176 episode live, 65 in queue, which is a little crazy, and I've done like 70 in the last year and a half. So I think you become more comfortable, you become kind of at peace with yourself in terms of what you're delivering, and if the message is good and you're adding value, that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. And what I did notice is that our podcasts are very similar themed, and we've even had some the same interviewed the same guests. And one thing that keeps coming up, and it's an ongoing thing with different people. It doesn't seem to matter what industry you're in or what your background or what job it is. You always have to be stepping outside of your comfort zone and challenging yourself. This is coming up time and time again. You can't expect any improvement or advances if you just sit in your comfort zone. So always be challenging yourself. Always be stepping outside that comfort zone.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously human nature to be in a habit or to have comfort. And then when something
Yeah,
is new comes around, or there's a new idea or something in terms of a business leap or anything of that nature, your psyche is telling you don't do it. So, I mean, you have to get past the hurdle of yourself. And
yeah,
oftentimes, people around you that may be negative, sometimes, why are you leaving this job? Why are you, quitting school? And that kind of limiting, belief or being bombarded with that negativity will a lot of the time dissuade you, but ultimately you have to make that choice for yourself.
absolutely. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a 9 to 5. I know a lot of people do really well with a 9 to 5, but if you've got that entrepreneurial mindset and you don't like working for the people and you can't stand the 9 to 5 or the structure of it, then I would recommend at least attempting some kind of entrepreneurial path.
Yep, and it's like you said, it's what's best for you, your family,
Mm,
the people around you, your current situation. So you in 2020 obviously won't be you in 2021. So that may be a pivot point. You may do something else, but it's kind of running your own race and doing what makes you happy.
yeah, I'm all for that.
So
Always striving.
yeah, no, I mean that's the thing, always improving and being a better version of yourself than you were today. So
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of kind of meditating and sort of self development, personal development, that kind of thing. Reading the right books and all that sort of stuff. So I do kind of practice all these sort of things to keep you positive. But I think that does help with being in sales as well. You kind of get used to being naturally positive and upbeat about situations, and you just do it to yourself. You think the self talk you give yourself is be upbeat, or like Brian Tracy used to say, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself, to give yourself that lift. And I think a lot of people could learn from trying those things. So affirmations and self talk.
yep, I mean positive affirmations go a long way, and even saying that, obviously there's been a lot of experiments. I don't know if you've probably seen where they had experiment with plants. So one plant, they said everything negative on and on, bombarded them with negativity. The other plant, super positive. That literally, that plant that was giving negativity day in and day out died and wilted away, and the other plant that was, talked to positively grew. So I mean, there are power in words, and basically those words impact you and those around you.
Wow, I didn't know about that experiment. I've never heard that
Yeah,
before.
you have to
That's
look it
weird.
up. It's actually on video.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
several ones that have been done with plants, and it's crazy how plants are affected by that kind of environment as well.
Wow. How long have you been in the podcasting game now?
Well, I started my podcast December of 2017, but I switched to a interview format. It's only been about a year and a half. So
Wow,
in that time, I've interviewed about 180 people at this point. So
nice.
it's been fun.
So do you not do any solo episodes anymore, or do you still do it
I
occasionally?
have not. I mean, it keeps me going. I think if I kept it solo, I would have quit, because my
Right.
pivot point into interviews is February of 2019. My grandfather passed away. That was a big role model in my life. And I think part of the grieving process, or what helped me cope, is switch over to an interview format, obviously talking about hurdles and different losses in life. And, that came up in conversations, and I learned about things that other people went through. And I think that actual talking to people and interviewing people and that back and forth dialogue was helped in my healing process and kind of that grieving process.
Mm. That's interesting because I did it the other way because I started off purely doing interviews, but then I realized that to get myself better known, I started doing like only short ones, like sales related solo episodes. So I've started doing them recently as well.
Yep, and the power of being on other shows. Obviously, I made a goal to double what I did last year. I mean, I surpassed that at this point. So really, last year was the year I started going on other shows and doing a lot of media publications, and I did 20, which is not bad. I mean, at this point, currently, as of yesterday, I've been on 50 this year.
Wow.
So
We're coming
hope
on another one tomorrow, so it'll be 51, won't it?
yes, I mean, now my goal has really switched to kind of push it to try to do 100 before the end of the year, which obviously is attainable, but it's just like, my goal was 40, and then you kind of have to redefine and recalibrate and pivot to a higher goal.
there's quite a lot of organisation goes into purely just doing like finding guests and also guesting on other shows. There's quite a lot goes on in the background, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think if people actually knew how to, like, what actually it took to produce, let's say, a 20 or 30 minute, interview format show, like, they would be surprised. I mean,
Mm.
the editing, the promotion of it, like you said, the back and forth scheduling, and everything else involved. I mean, it's hours, hours upon hours.
It's fun though. We wouldn't do it, would we? It's worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. And I mean, obviously, maybe in, life, we may have not ever met, but now it's an opportunity also to look at it in terms of networking, adding value to each other, collaborating in the
Yeah.
future. So, I mean, it's kind of a truly global effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually working on networking at the moment and sort of reaching out to. I've been studying Jordan Harbinger. Is it Jordan Harbinger?
Yep.
And he was saying about how you should sort of dig into your old sort of not completely lost connections, but ones that you haven't spoken to for 6 months, but don't have any sort of agenda, just sort of not genuinely see how they are and stuff. And so you're sort of rekindling old relationships and stuff. So yeah, I've been studying that. So that's something to consider for you listeners if you're looking to build your network or work on your existing network.
Yeah, I mean, my personal mindset is kind of like a heart-led entrepreneur and about leaving legacy. So like my main goal and it's not a strategy, but like who I am at this point in 2020 is me adding as much value as possible and being authentic as possible without asking for anything in return. And when I
Yeah.
switched over to that mindset about, I would say like 3-4 years ago, it really exponentially increased my reach, my brand, the amount of people that collaborated with me, client opportunities, and opened up a lot of doors, just basically simply switching kind of that mindset.
Brilliant. Well, my goals would be the two main ones would be one would be to keep fine tuning my sales skills so that I'm sort of as best salesperson as I can be. But I'd love to also have a martial arts related sideline, if you want to call it, side hustle, to do with sort of weapons and stuff like that, sort of Filipino weapons and blades and that kind of thing. Not they don't have to necessarily be the sharp ones, but the training blades and stuff like that. So yeah, that'd be kind of my other dream. And that would be the sales samurai then, wouldn't I?
Yeah, I mean, you could combine them and have some kind of
Yeah.
influence where you have stuff like that within the podcast. I mean, I was on a podcast yesterday. We were talking about it. The person had a treadmill in the back. I'm like, you should do your podcast on the treadmill. I don't think anyone's
Yeah.
doing it that way, but
Yes. I'll have to get the swords and start doing all the moves on, on the videos.
yeah, that'd be
Well,
interesting.
I have actually got a Sales Samurai YouTube channel where I've already started doing that. So the idea of the channel is I do sort of techniques or locks or restraints or punches or strikes or whatever, but I also give sales tips as well. So it's a combination because what I started off doing was 60-second sales tips, and I was going to carry on doing the sales tips and do martial arts separate, but I decided to bring them together. So every video, so I did like a basics nunchucks, so a demonstration with some simple nunchucks, but then I did a sales tip as well. So it's combined.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like who you are, your identity, and like your brand, and combining that and adding value in both of those things and having that information be delivered in the most cohesive and interesting way. I think it connects well with audiences.
Thank you. Well, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, the channel's still relatively in the early stages, so it's a work in progress. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll do well.
Let's hope so.
So, what's one piece of advice you can leave with the audience, personal or professional?
Um, well, it could probably be a little bit of both. I'd say just believe in yourself. If you have an idea or you want to do something, don't let anybody else hinder you or make that decision for you, because even though friends and family a lot of the time are trying to help you, or they think they're trying to help you, they could be hindering you. And most of the successful people that I've spoken to that have had these ideas, or they've gone for something, they've met with people trying to stop them or slow them down or persuade them not to do it. Just go with your gut instinct and follow what. So yeah, I would say personal and professional. just believe in yourself, try and be happy. I know we're in some rough times and things are a bit bleak and there's a lot of negativity about this rioting and protesting and all that stuff. Just try and stay positive. Don't watch the news. I don't watch very much of it anyway. I don't read newspapers. Just read positive things and avoid the news.
Yeah, and I think situations can be a lot worse, and it's kind of like, I mean, for me, it's, I mean, I worked remotely for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, my company has been ran remotely, and the business dealings I've had, all I really needed is an internet connection. But I mean, I was born in Ukraine, which was under the former Soviet Union. So, like, what I've seen my family go through with stuff I remember, stuff I've been through in life, like, I mean, this is like a vacation for me, kind of, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like people complaining about, I'm stuck at home. All right, you have internet. If you are working, count your blessings. You have Netflix, you have this and that. You can go
Mhm.
and take a walk. You can have food. You're not starving. So it's like you have to have a mindset, regardless of the pandemic or not, is one, be grateful for what you have. And two, it can be a lot worse.
Yeah, definitely. You could always be in a worse situation. That's a great way of looking at it.
I mean, it can always be worse, and I mean, things. Well, hopefully, it gets better. But I mean, like personally, when things happen, it feels like everything around you is caving in. So if something happens
Mm,
to you traumatically, or let's say your business, you lose your business, or you have a loss in your family, or you lose a friend, it seems like in close proximity, numerous things happen. I think they say, good and bad things come in threes. It seems like it's been like that throughout my life as well.
yeah, it does. It does seem to be like that, doesn't it?
Yep. So I really appreciate you stopping by today. Can you let the audience know how they can find you and anything else you have going on?
Yeah, well, like I said, the main projects I have at the moment would be my YouTube channel, so the Sales Samurai YouTube channel. But to find out more about me, the best place would be the Success Breed Success Show. So I'm doing solo episodes now that are sales related. So giving you tips on any part of the sales process, from following up, rapport building, uh, even the closing part of the deal. So anything to do with sales. I'll also be doing bits of talk about martial arts and how I feel they sort of complement each other, from sort of discipline to perseverance and patience, those type of things. The qualities that you need in sales are the same qualities that I have in, or that I need in martial arts as well. So yeah, I would just recommend checking out the show. I've interviewed some great guests, similar to Romans actually, and I've had some that he hasn't as well, and I'm sure he has that I haven't as well. So why don't you listen to both shows?
Yep, that's great advice. So I really appreciate you stopping by, and enjoy your day.
Yeah, I'll look forward to speaking to you tomorrow, because you'll be on the Success Breed Success show tomorrow, won't you? So